friends, you know what that sound means? It means it's time for tonight's Silver Lining. And it is also back to school season across America. And we have to realize that our kids aren't just walking into classrooms. They're walking into an ideological battlefield. The radical left is actively trying to target the souls of this next generation. Dr. Corey Miller breaks down how the culture was polluted in his book, The Progressive Miseducation of America. And tonight, he's giving us the spiritual weapons we need to fight back. Corey Miller, thank you for joining the Pulse this evening. Now, Corey, you and I both know that there's a battle for the minds of our kids, yet the left, they just continue to insist that our public universities, well, they're neutral ground. But your book completely dismantles that idea. So for the parents and grandparents watching who are preparing to send their kids off to these schools, how can they equip them to recognize the underlying anti-God worldviews that they may encounter in secular classrooms?
David, thanks for allowing me to be on your show tonight. First of all, we need to see how bad and what the problem is. How bad it is, parents and grandparents are literally paying for the apostasy of their own children when they send them off to these secular baptismal fonts ill-equipped. Why? Because 23-1 is the ratio of liberal to conservative professor, 27-1 at the Ivy Leagues. And when you look at the top 10 to 15 universities, it's between 90 to 100% that are registered Democrats. And it's not the politics that matter, it's what undergirds that. It's a secular ethos. And so people are wondering why this newest generation, Generation Z, seems to be so radicalized, and it's because of what's coming from the universities. Ideas have consequences. Bad ones make victims. Good ones transform lives, society, and civilization. And my organization and others like us seek to equip people to be able to give historical, philosophical, and scientific reasons for following Jesus.
Well, it's so important. I don't know how many times you hear the horror stories of Christian parents, Christian families send their kids to university, and within a matter of sometimes months or maybe a year or two, they've changed their entire identity. They're as far left as you can imagine, and the parents just feel like there's just no hope. Now, in your book, you lay out a timeline showing how our universities actually shifted from educating students to systematically shaping their ideology. So was there a specific tipping point when the radical left gained control of higher education? And if so, what happened that actually allowed them to take the wheel?
Well, since Harvard's founding by the Pilgrims, essentially, and its motto was truth, almost for 300 years, it was truth for Christ and the church. Almost 250 years or so, just about every college president was also a member of the clergy. But what happened was we didn't have PhD programs in the U.S., so we would send our best and brightest over to Europe, typically Germany, and that's where Marx was at, and Engels, and Einstein, and Nietzsche, and Freud, and so forth, and they would come back, and now they had the higher echelons degrees, and they took over Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Columbia, and so forth. And by the 1930s, the dust had settled, and they were on top, and Christians and conservatives were now on the outside, only to send them our children and our tuition dollars for the next 100 years. But the second ideological revolution has now taken place and is pushing out those who embraced a kind of scientific naturalism in favor of a postmodern cultural Marxism. So now we've got a real revolutionary spirit taking place in our culture, and that's explaining why we look at society as an assassination culture today. We look at the stats, we look at the data, and the closer you are coming from the universities, you're learning these ideas from somewhere.
Yeah, well, and that's where they're learning it from. Now, the left, they claim that they're all for diversity, inclusion, and tolerance until a Christian or a conservative speaks up. So why do universities only seem to tolerate cancel culture, particularly when it's used against Christians?
Well, they want our dollars and they want our kids, but they do not want our ideas. We're supposedly on the outside, and that needs to change. A lot of Christians think that, the solution is in politics. But as I say, we are looking downstream at politics, which is going upstream to culture, and beyond that, it's education. And the university is the apex of education. As go the universities, so goes the culture. As goes the U.S. university, so goes the world. And when we're talking about socialism, I heard you mention it in a previous program, and we're seeing this all over society today. 66% of registered Democrats favor socialism over free market economics and so forth. One of the most radical or dangerous cultural Marxists, Antonio Gramsci, once said about 100 years ago, socialism is precisely the religion that must kill Christianity. So Christianity is at the head and the forefront here. Socialism is virtually a religion of its own making. It's a replacement of Christianity.
Yeah, it is exactly that. All the way down to their, my body, my choice, where Jesus said, I give my body so that you could live. And they say, I'm going to kill you so I can live. Now, I know you touch on how Marxist ideology isn't just on college campuses. It's actually worked its way into churches and ministries. So what are some of the signs that church leaders or believers need to watch out for?
Well, oftentimes it's a dead giveaway if you're talking about DEI or what I would call DIE programs. I mean, who would be against diversity? Who would be against including other people? Who would be against equality, or now they call it equity? But once you start to study what those terms actually mean when they've been repurposed and rebaptized in the institution, these are code words for Marxist infiltration. And they take Christianity and Christian terms and they try to baptize those terms and then infiltrate into Christian movements. And because most Christians in America have unfortunately excommunicated the mind of Christ, the head of Christ, retaining only the hands and the heart of Christ, they're not too savvy at detecting this false philosophy that's infiltrating not just academia and media, but ecclesia as well. And that was the cultural Marxists' dream. If they could ensconce themselves sufficiently in those fields, in those institutions, then once it's primed far enough, then the revolution can really begin. So we've not really seen the violent part of that, even though we're starting to see that. But it is infiltrating into our churches. I mean, this is what progressive Christianity has adopted.
Yeah, and it's into far too many churches. If there's anything to do with DEI in your church, friends, run. Corey Miller, I appreciate what you're doing. It is so important and timely. Thank you for joining the Pulse tonight. And friends, that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you so much for watching the Pulse right here on Newsmax 2. Tune in for brand new episodes weeknights at 8 o'clock. And you can always catch the Pulse weekly on Newsmax Cable every weekend. Good night, America, and God bless you.